Hi, everybody. Welcome to the 2025 IOD Spring Release Watch Party. I'm super excited to be bringing this video to you. I'll be sure to include the link to the playlist in the description below so you can watch other videos from this same release. I cannot wait to share with you my favorite product from this release, and it is called the Spring Melody Paint Inlay. So in that are these 8 incredible sheets, and we're going to be using 3 of these. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing I'm doing is I'm painting this 8-inch round tray that I bought already pre-cut and sanded from Home Depot, and now I'm going to use DIY paint in White Swan. You could use any white paint that you like. I just find that I have absolutely no problem inlaying into DIY paint. I have decided on these 3 different designs. I absolutely love these roses. Obviously, it's not large enough to cover my 18-inch board, and I could use the other sheet of roses and make the whole thing with the roses, but I've decided to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to put this in the center, and then along each of the sides, I'm going to put one of these borders, probably this one, and then toward the outside, I'm going to use this beautiful pattern with the roses and the birds. So I've decided on this for my layout. All I did with this middle sheet is I cut off a half square on each side, and that's going to give me really good margins for the other 2 pieces. And then I'm using the rose strips because it's an easier layout. I like it, and it's an easier layout. So I just trimmed those close to that leaf that's right here. And then for the bird pattern, I cut out 5 squares, and that's going to cover my board really well. And then this is what I'm going to focus on for now. This is what really needs to be straight. And what I'm using for my margins is I'm really lucky. Down here, I'm going to go right up to the edge with the bottom of that stem, and the same over here. And then up top, that keeps both of my roses in place. Now, just trimmed in those dead areas. And the reason being is I won't have to worry about overlap at all. Now, when I lay this down, I just don't want to get any of the paint images over on this carrier sheet. That's just minimizing my risk of doing that. I put some blue painter's tape along the top and the bottom lines to help me line it up. And I have trimmed both of these margins tight to the paint inlay. The key to successful inlays is you really want to make sure that you're going into a wet surface. So I have it primed with my paint. I'm going to just spritz my surface to get it wet. And now I'm going to go in with my white paint. If your brush is dragging, that's telling you that your surface isn't really wet. So I'm going to spritz and make sure I can move that paint around. I want it nice and wet. Okay, I'm gonna spritz it again. And just get this all to move. I don't feel my brush dragging at all. I'm going to start with that middle piece. Closest to me. Now I'm going to smooth it back. And I want to get this adhered really well. So anywhere where there's paint, I want to make sure that this is attached really well. Now my sides are drying, but I'm not too worried about that right now. I'm going to take my brayer and I'm going to roll over where my inlay is. I'll take a blue shop cloth. You can use a damp rag. When your inlay's vivid, you've got some really good contact. Again, so I'm going to spritz this. Right now, this is just my layout. I'm going to pull this tight, and I'm going to try and line it up. You don't want to move it around too much. I'll put this one back in place. The fact that I tore it is not going to make a difference, not even a little bit. Rub that on there, brayer that out. And now this is still pretty wet. I can lay this down. And I'm going to go a little bit over the carrier sheet because that's going to give me a better edge. And now I can do the other side. That's my layout. I'm going to go in with my squirt bottle and I'm going to spray the back of everything. And work that in. And that's helping push the paint from the back onto my surface. So it's once I'm happy with that, I like to take my cloth, dab up excess water. I'm not worrying about those empty spaces, just off my inlay. And now I'm going to take my heat gun and I'm going to dry it. I want to dry it until the image with the paint appears grayed out. That's how I'll know it's dry. You look at this image compared to this image, this is fairly well dry. That's still pretty wet. You want all of your images to look like this. So now everything it's not totally dry, but it's dry enough for me to move forward. If I were to peel back now, not only would I peel back the paint inlay image, I would also peel back the white paint. So what you want to do is you want to ease this carrier sheet off of your paint. So I'll start over here wetting You just want to make sure that that's worked in. You want that carrier sheet to be wet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work that water in. I want the whole sheet to be wet. And over here it feels still a little dry. Where it's dry, it'll pull back. That's wet. You know, give it, I don't know, a few seconds just for that water to absorb. I'm trying to stay away from the edges. Doesn't mean that I'll be successful at it. Okay. So I'm going to pull back in the reverse order just because some of this is layered. And if you feel it pulling, then you can add more water. I absolutely love this. I embrace the wrinkles, and it's second use. So it's not going to be a perfect image. It's going to be lighter. So I'm going in with the white paint. I'm going to want to be more careful. And I'm going to go right down here like this. Put that on there. And I'm going to smooth that in. Brush. That's a little more faded than I would have liked, but I like it. Is I'm going to dry the whole thing. Now that it's dry, I'm going to take it outdoors. This is what I like to spray my paint inlays with. You want to make sure that you have the whole thing covered. You don't want to use a brush-on sealer because it can smear the paint inlay. Other people have techniques that work for them. This is just what works for me. Now that I've sealed it with spray sealer and that's dry, I can go in with my brush-on sealer. I still don't want to pull. I want to more lay the sealer on my surface. So I make sure that I use a soft bristled brush. It's been dry 24 hours and now it's time to add the handles. And it is done. I hope you enjoyed this project, and I hope that you love this paint inlay as much as I do. And we're on to the next project.